I don't ask for April showers. I don't ask for pouring rain. I'm just sitting chasing blue skies, just sitting waiting for my luck to change. But I don't think about the future.
I remember going to Uncle Steve's house and getting to go on the computer because Mom never let us, and going to the Barbie website, which is awesome.
I remember going to Uncle Steve's house and playing with Lassie and playing with Big Jesus. I haven't met Trixie.
I remember Shore and I took a trip to Vancouver and we went to a festival down at the beach, and there was all these paper lanterns, and I remember Uncle Steve tried to put my favorite hat on and it was way too small for him, but still looked fabulous. And yeah.
I remember we went to the PD in Vancouver, Carly and I did, and we got to our fancy new shoes and we went on the dragon ride and the spinny swing ride, and it was really scary, but it was really fun, and Uncle Steve was protecting us from scary.
I remember when I was 16, Uncle Steve bought me and Anya tickets to Madonna, and it was amazing. Even though I was on crutches, it was still the best thing ever, and we got to stay at the new condo, which I'd never been to before. And I don't know if this was purposeful, but all the candies that were in there were pink, which I appreciated.
I remember Uncle Steve let Jess and I come over to the old condo in the pink building, and we played Mall Madness, and it was so much fun, but I don't remember how to play. And we got to drink koala drinks, and I felt like such a grown-up hanging out at Uncle Steve's house without Mom.
When Shore was in grade 12, and his one big gift that he wanted to do was go to Vancouver and see Wicked, and he invited all his friends and they all said no, so me, his last resort, got to go to Wicked too, and it was so incredible, and seeing one of my favorite musicals live was amazing, and of course Uncle Steve was the one to make it come true.
I remember when I was in grade 12, Carly and I went over to Vancouver to stay with Uncle Steve and Uncle Chris, and they took us shopping for fancy jeans, and we had never had fancy jeans before, so we were so stoked, and we tried on all the cool ones, and I wore those jeans until they fell apart, and every time I wore them I was like, look at my nice jeans my Uncle Steve bought me. Woo! Everyone was really jealous.
One of my favorite things about living with Grandpa is all the stories we get about Mom when she was little, and Uncle Daryl and Heather and Uncle Steve, who apparently was a bad child, because we hear stories about him and, or I guess you, and Uncle Daryl making lots of noise, and whenever you could hear Grandma creaking, because like coming around the kitchen door you could hear a creak and you would turn everything off and pretend to be in bed and then turn it back on and have a party all night long. And Grandma also says that you spill red wine on her carpet every year, so I don't know if that's true, but...
Speaking of stories from Grandma, I like the one where Uncle Steve and Uncle Daryl are sharing the big bedroom downstairs, and they used to try and kill each other with farts under the covers, pull the covers over someone's head and Dutch oven them until they can't breathe. So Grandma used to say cleaning their room was disgusting, and I have to say I would probably think so too.
One of my favorite Uncle Steve-isms is every Christmas he would get us a chapters card, and it was my favorite thing because I got to look forward to every Christmas is a chapters card, and it got me so interested in reading, and every year I used it up right away. We'd take a road trip down to Nanaimo, get to go to Starbucks and get our books from chapters, and it was so exciting and I loved it so much.
I remember when I had my L, my learner's driver's license, Uncle Steve brought the fancy convertible to Kemba River and I got to drive it. But the problem was the L didn't stick to the car because the car was made out of plastic, not metal. And so I was driving the fancy convertible and I was so nervous, and Shore was in the back holding up the L so that I was driving legally, and Uncle Steve was in the front seat.
I remember for my 10th birthday, Mom took me to Vancouver and we stayed in Uncle's condo. Uncle Steve's condo. And I remember there was a fire alarm and we had to run all the way downstairs, and then once we got downstairs I had a hissy fit because I realized that the cat was still upstairs, but she turned out being fine. And I just remember that whole trip made me feel like such a young lady, and I felt so grown up, and it was so much fun.
So last year I was living in Europe, obviously, and as I was traveling around with my friends Connor and Victoria, almost everywhere that we went, I was like, my Uncle Steve and Uncle Chris have already been here, and tell them something that I learned from you guys. They're like, I've seen that picture, Uncle Steve was in it, and oh yeah, I've heard all about this, Uncle Steve told me about it. It got to a point where my friends were like, stop talking about Uncle Steve! but it was okay, and it really helped me to appreciate more what I was seeing, because I knew that it was already part of our family and that other people had already seen it, and it gave me more appreciation for it, and I really wanted to come home and talk to you about it.
I remember a couple years ago when Uncle Steve and Uncle Chris took us on the amazing trip on the houseboat, and the day before we all got our supplies and whatever, and when we were unloading everything onto the boat, I noticed that there was like 15 bags of chips, and then fast forward a day or two and there was 0 chips, and I never had a single chip, and it was just like, who ate the chips? And I think it was Sean.
I remember on the houseboat, it was the evening of the surprise party for Uncle Steve and Uncle Chris's anniversary, but we had to distract Uncle Steve and Uncle Chris because they were not allowed to go into the kitchen where the preparations were underway. So we played that game on the floating air mattresses where the person with the wig had to stay on the mattress and everyone else had to try and pull them off the mattress. And I felt like I was super sneaky because I managed to keep Uncle Steve and Uncle Chris out of the kitchen long enough for the party to get set up. So that was really fun, and I remember pushing people off the raft.
I remember on the houseboat, one of the days when the kids were kind of, you know, too much sun and going a little loopy, Uncle Steve decided to read them Pete the cat, and I was really embarrassed because I was sitting behind them strategically, kind of like not listening but totally listening, and I think I enjoyed it just as much as they did.
When we were younger, like really little, living at Mom's house, we could always tell when Uncle Steve phoned because Mom would pick up the phone and instantly laugh. It wouldn't matter what he said, he probably just said hello. It was ha ha! Mom would start laughing. And so we could always tell when it was Uncle Steve, and we'd all like gather around Mom's feet and be like, yeah, I want to talk to Uncle Steve, I want to talk to Uncle Steve. And she'd, you know, shoo us away, she'd try and talk to Big Brother, but I remember we could always tell because Mom was instantly happy whenever Uncle Steve phoned.
I remember, I'm not sure what year this was, but Uncle Steve and Chris came to visit us and we went and saw The Princess and the Frog in theaters, and it was so good. And I remember Uncle Steve and Chris getting so like upset that I had never had a manicure before, because I was probably like, I don't know, 13 or 14. Apparently it's just like atrocious that I had never had a manicure before, and I have had one now. So.
I remember when I was younger, I was visiting Vancouver and we took the little boat taxi to Granville Island, and I thought it took a very long time, but in reality it was probably like 5 minutes. And we went to the bead store and I made my necklace, and I remember I made one when I was quite a bit younger, but I also remember I made a green one in grade 12, and then I accidentally wore it for my grad pictures. I was planning on just wearing it for the casual pictures, and I ended up wearing it for my formal grad picture too, and I originally disliked it, but now I like it because when I look at it I remember that I was with Uncle Steve and I made that necklace, and it will forever be in my high school grad.
I remember when the Olympics came to Vancouver and everyone was so excited, and Shore and I got to come and visit you guys in Vancouver, and all my friends were so jealous, and we went to an awards ceremony that had a concert after it, and even just walking down Robson and seeing all the different countries, and everyone was so excited, and we never really saw any troubles. And I remember the one night that Canada was playing the States in the hockey game, and every time Canada scored we would just open up the patio door at your house, and you could just, like, you could just hear everyone screaming, and when they scored you could hear, I mean when they missed you could hear everyone boo, and it was just so exciting, like unbelievable. Yeah.
I remember when I was younger I was helping out at Uncle Steve's school back when he actually had a classroom, and I don't remember exactly how old I was or what school it was, but anyways, you gave me a box of paper to shred, and I was putting it in the shredder like a boss, and you came back and you were just like, Karina, you are so good at shredding paper, you're a super shredder, and I felt so good. I was like, my Uncle Steve thinks I am good at shredding paper, yeah! And I remember it made me so happy, so proud, even though it's, you know, ooh, I'm a good paper shredder.
I remember on the same trip, the same trip that Shore and I went, and we went to the paper lanterns, we also went out for dinner at the Rainforest Cafe or something, and they had these bins of Beanie Babies, which is the best thing ever to start, and then you said that we both got to pick out one, and I think that was like my highlight from the trip, was that we got to pick out a Beanie Baby. And I remember I got a little robin named Early. Was it Early? Yeah, I think it's Early. And I still have her, and she sits on my alarm clock because that's ironic.
So yeah, just want to say happy birthday and thank you so much for everything that you do for my family and I. You're definitely one of the most generous people I've ever met. Probably on par with Uncle Chris, and then you're unsurpassed after that. Tied for first, definitely. And yeah, you've definitely been an inspiration in a lot of things I do, especially my study and travel abroad. That was all from you. I probably wouldn't have done that if you hadn't already told me so much about the world and the amazing things that there are to see in it. And my friends are definitely tired of hearing me talk about you, so maybe I should talk about other uncles, but nah, I'll think I'll just stick with what I got. So thank you so much for everything, and I love you.
So happy birthday, Uncle Steve! I know that's kind of the point of this video, and then we went off on memories and everything, but you know, happy birthday. You deserve, you know, the best day ever, because you are so incredible, and everything that you do for us is really kind of crazy. Like when I just go off talking about, oh, my uncles did this and they did this and they blah blah blah, and they're like, who are these people? I'm like, I know, they're incredible, and we love you so much. And yeah,
Stay who you are.
we love you, Uncle Steve.
We love you, Uncle Steve.
Like lots.
Lots and lots. Oh, we can do like that thing. Woo, we love you, Uncle Steve. And those crazy cards that you send us. Ooh,